And so Jane saw her growing up, like getting her heart broken all the time and having to sort of pick up the pieces and put her mother back together. And she's having none of that. And Jane really believes, I think, that like her mother, that, it's the white horse coming down the road. That's what it is. And throughout the story, she kind of learns that love is something different than that. And it's something she ends up wanting to share with her mom.
This episode of The Running Wine Mom is sponsored by Freshworks Home Circle. If you're in Northeast Philly and haven't tried Freshworks yet, what are you waiting for? From signature hoagies piled high with premium meats and cheeses to fresh salads, wings, and made-to-order paninis, everything is crafted with quality flavor in mind. It's family-owned, local, and your new go-to for satisfying bites any day of the week. Skip the drive-thru, order online at freshworkshome.com, and taste the fresh difference today. Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Cieslinski, aka the Running Wine Mom. Today, we're sipping something special with one of my all-time favorite returning guests, Annabel Monaghan. This is her third time on the show, and if you've been here for Nor Goes Off Script or Same Time Next Summer, you already know she brings wit, warmth, and the one-liners that stay with you. Today, we're diving into her newest book, It's a Love Story, a laugh-out-loud, deeply felt, and sneakily hopeful novel about reinvention, romance, and believing in love stories, even when the world tells you not to. So without further ado, let's welcome back Annabel. Welcome.
Samantha, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me and for such a nice
Yes, I am excited to have you on for the third year in a row. This is exciting. Who would have known?
Amazing. And that probably means I didn't offend anybody last time I was here. That's what it means if you get invited back. So let's hope for the
Oh my
best.
goodness. No, I always say, like, when I talk about your books, I was telling one of the women that I work with how I was interviewing you. I'm like, if you've never read her books, they're like Hallmark in just book form. They just make you feel good. And I read a lot of heavy books, so it's always great. I'm so excited to be on yours because um, it gives happiness.
Yeah, there are sometimes some not so light topics, but I'll always leave you feeling light because that's how I like to feel when I end a book.
Yes, I love it. Well, then you know how we start each episode with our wine, and wit of the week segment. So, to all my listeners, let's grab a glass, take a deep breath, and get started. So, what is your drinking wine of the week?
I am drinking Pinot Noir of various varieties, and I had a thing where I was drinking a Cabernet, and it's too heavy for me. I think
I
it
feel like,
is it higher in alcohol?
well, for me personally, I feel like I can drink Cabernet in December and January because it's just like it's heavier. I don't think it's higher in alcohol, but I do feel like Pinot Noir is lighter for some reason. I don't know when I think of the two of them.
That feels like the right compromise. And for whatever reason, red wine agrees with me better than white wine.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll change my tune in August, but that's
Yeah.
where we are right now, drinking wise.
Love it. And what is your WHINE of the week?
This might be controversial, but I do think about it every single day. Do you know this new book of essay or of letters that they've published of Joan Didion's?
I haven't been
So
paying attention.
it's recently come out, and they were her private letters to her husband that she would
Mm,
write after she went to therapy. And so, like, she's a beloved person. Like, I've read
mhm.
everything she's written. I read her in college. But I feel like she's entitled to have written some stuff down that after her death does not need to be published.
Yeah. It's not like, I mean, they are her deep, dark secrets, but it maybe is just the way she's feeling like in the moment that is only for her husband and it's not for all of us.
I feel like I think I'm defensive because I'm a writer, but it's like
Yeah.
I have the right to write stuff down that no one's
Right.
ever going to read. Like, I don't know. I feel a little protective of Joan Didion in this moment. And every time I see something about the book, I'm like, I kind of want to read it because I'm a horrible
Yeah.
person. But on the other hand, I'm like, no one should be reading this.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because she's not here to defend any of it. Like anyone can make any inference that they want and it could be right, but it could also be very wrong and no one will ever know because I mean, who knows? Maybe it was fiction what she was writing, but like we
Yeah,
won't ever know.
I don't know.
Huh.
We need
Yeah.
to have some kind of privacy. Anyways, that's
Yeah.
my wine.
Okay. Well, what's your win of the week?
Well, that one's easy because my youngest son went to college this year and he
Mhm.
has returned from his freshman year in college
Yay.
and he's all in one piece. and he made a lot of really nice friends, and
Oh,
he had a really good year. It's been a really, I mean, people like boohoo about the empty nest for whatever reason. My husband and I have had a really fun year. But now he's back, and it's just like we're back in that kind of swing again. And it's only been 2 days, but it's very fun.
that's awesome. How exciting and how proud you must be. First year, you're like, all right, take another breath of air out because
You
you
never
made
know.
it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's been
I
great.
feel like first year is the hard. I mean, the first semester of college was such an eye-opening experience for me. I mean, I did not do well academically, but it was just because you're like, well, this freedom to I don't have to do this. Like
You have
what?
no one's telling you to go to bed. You
Yeah.
don't know where the bathroom is. Every single person you meet is like, "So, where are you from?" I mean, it's such a bizarre time.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's nice to see people past it.
That's great. All right. Well, then let's get into It's a Love Story. We are, yes, yours, I think yours is upside down.
Always, always. I
There
never
we
get
go.
it right, and backwards.
Yeah, I think mine's the
No, yours
mine
is
looks
right.
backward. It's all right. I love I always love your covers. Like they're just I know we're not supposed to judge a book by the cover, but yours are always beautiful.
No, it's
So,
okay to judge this one by its cover
yeah.
because I love this cover. I've loved all of them, but this is my
Yeah.
favorite. And
It's
do you have
just
one of
like
the finished copies? Are there letters like it's glossy?
the top of it, yeah, like it's like raised up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I'm low key obsessed with this.
I love the colors. I think I mean it's just I know it's going to be a good book. Like it's going to be a good book when you pick it up.
Let's hope for the best. I don't know. Let's cover.
So, in the book, it opens up with speaking of success, Jane dressing for success and maybe love too. What does that metaphor say about her relationship with ambition? And do you relate to it?
I love that question. I think that a lot of us, I'm not going to generalize for everybody, but do you sometimes put on a costume? Like,
Yes.
I want to go into this situation feeling like this. I'm going to wear my power shirt that maybe has a
Hmm.
hole in it, but I'll put a sweater on over it. Like we put on things to make ourselves feel better or prepared. And what I thought was interesting about writing about a child star is that she went through puberty on TV, right? Like, so she grew up 12 to 15, 16, whatever it was, on TV, which is the time when I was like trying things out the way I was going to look. Like,
Hmm.
I want my hair like Madonna. Maybe I do. Maybe it was a bad idea. And like trying out like what kind of person I was going to be. What was I going to say? And she grows up with like the costume department choosing her clothes, somebody handing her a script and telling her where to stand. And she's a person who like never really grew up with a sense of herself. And so now
Hmm.
she's 33 years old and I don't really have, I mean, she's kind of a hot mess. And she really is like so unself-aware. It's unbelievable. And she's never really gotten this sense of herself. So she goes out of the house in costumes and she's just going to pretend that she's that kind of a person until it happens.
Yeah. And I love it. It's like fake it till you make it with a nice pair of shoes, right?
I feel so confident. My shoes cost 900K
Yeah. So, what outfit would your fourth date with your career look like today, you personally,
with my career.
as a writer?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so here's what I would do. And now I'm worried she says this in the book. I would wear a dress because I just want to put on one thing and I don't want to worry that it's untucked.
Hmm.
And it's not going to grab me in any of my grabby or tight places. And I'm going to walk in just wearing the dress where I can't feel the dress on me. That's my favorite. That's like my most confident look. Like, oh,
Yeah.
look, I don't have to stick my stomach in.
Yeah. That is, you're
Oh, and
comfortable.
bra strap's not coming out, and and I'm not doing that. It's just a dress that totally fits.
I love that. Perfect. And perfect weather for you to put on a dress just like that, coming up.
Yes.
So Jane is a woman balancing ambition, vulnerability, and the fear of being too much. How much of that comes from you personally, your own experience? How much of Jane is in you?
You know, I love that question so much. I am, like, too little. Most of my life, I have spent my life, like, being too small and being too little because, I was raised during a time when it was like, "Shh, don't be silly." That was
Mhm.
like how it was never like say all the things on your mind. So she's very different from me. And the part of her that I relate to the most, the kind of the part that like I was trying to get out of my heart and into her is this idea of how we're told things about ourselves or we learn things about ourselves when we're growing up
Mhm.
and then we don't know any better. So we take them to be the gospel truth. And then we hold on to those stories and keep telling ourselves those stories over and over again about how oh, you're unvaluable, you're not good at this, oh, you could never. It's like as adults, I think it's sometimes important to take a minute and be like, wait, is that even true? Like, who told you
Right.
that? And I've lived my whole life limiting myself because of that. And maybe it's not even true.
Yeah. So maybe you're writing about someone that you want to be with being too much, and you can take some notes from her.
Yeah, I'd like. I'd also like to be 5'9". These are my
You can
goals.
get heels that yeah. It's easy to get there in 2025, no problem. So Dan and Jane, they clash over what makes a story commercial. Where do you land, Team Tiger or Team Tenderness in the book?
I really love a quiet love story. I really do.
Yeah.
I love like the slow moment where their hands are just going to almost touch.
Mhm.
It's going to be kind of quiet and you're just dying for it. I love those kinds of things. I do love a quiet love story. And I think that when I was younger, I was very interested in like somebody, coming to me on a full float made of roses with a diamond ring and a big thing. And, now I've been married almost 30 years. It's like love is so quiet.
Mhm.
And it really happens like in the smaller gestures that no one's paying attention to, the ones you don't catch on Instagram. I love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can totally agree with that. And it is. I feel like when you're younger, you want the grand gestures. Like our kids are doing the promposals now and all that fun,
Lord,
stuff. And I'm
whose
like,
idea was that? How do
I
we
don't
start
know.
this? That was not
I
when I was a kid.
It wasn't me either. I think like, my one date asked me in gym class and I was like, okay, let's go. And it's like, the one kid's coming in videoing, everyone's crying. I'm like, oh God, that's a lot of pressure.
Right?
Yeah, the kids are crying. Like they're so excited because they're like so happy crying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lot. Might be too much.
So you always do such a great job of capturing the ache of hope so vividly, but how do you protect that feeling while writing in funny
I know, because you can be in do you mean like the painful yearning that you're feeling when you're like there are things you want and it's not gonna work
yeah.
out? I just think that if you move somebody who's in that kind of angst through a story, enough awkward things are gonna happen in the story to keep the humor going.
Right.
And it's important to have people around her. Like her friend Clem is like,
Mhm.
please just get over yourself. This
Yeah.
is ridiculous. You need to have people around her that keep it from going into some like big dark pity pat party and
Mhm.
coming out of it. Uh,
Yeah.
I think there's humor in everything. Lots of not all kinds of suffering, but lots of kind of suffering has a little humor to it.
Yeah. Awesome. So one of the things that I noticed, that one of the first things I noticed when I was like looking through the book is that you are praised by some heavy hitters like Ellen Hildenbrand, Abby Jimenez, Carly Fortune. How does it feel having romance royalty really rooting for you? And what do you admire maybe in their work that you bring into yours?
It's just so bizarre. Honestly, I don't like when I was just like doing this for the first time, Nora Goes Off Script came out and somebody handed it to Ellen Hildebrand on the beach and she read it and posted about it. And then I said, thank you. And she's like, hey, you want to come to Nantucket and do a signing with me? And I'm like, I'm not anybody, right? Like, you don't think I'm Emily Henry. It's Annabelle
Yeah.
Monaghan. So it's been really unbelievable. And
So
I
cool.
never have been in an industry, certainly, I used to work in banking, um, where everybody was cheering for each other so much. Like these people are like happy to read my stuff and happy to throw me a bone. Um, and we're all kind of doing that for each other. And I
Hmm.
think it's partially, honestly, because romance readers read so many books. It's not like, oh, I hope you don't read Emily Henry's book this year because I want you to
Right.
read mine. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of generosity and support. It's been amazing.
That's really great to hear. Yeah, like I said, I was like, that's amazing that you got those women on your side because they are, and rightfully so, because it's just really cool to see that. I love that for you.
When you asked me, I didn't answer your other part of your question.
Oh,
You asked what I get from reading their books.
yeah.
It's like a master class. And you know what I love is that this time of year, Abby and Carly release a book. And
Hmm.
I am like usually on a second draft of my next year's book. And I take a minute and I read their books and I'm like, now that's how you do it. And I can't copy their style. I don't write like them. I don't write the same kind of books that they write. But I always learn something from the way they describe something, the way they pace their stories out,
Hmm.
the way they give us little bits of information. There's just a lot to learn there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. That's awesome. So let's do a couple fun questions. In the book, there was a little blip about Pop-Tarts. So I'm going to say, let's talk Pop-Tarts and power moves. What's your go-to comfort snack when you're deep into a writing deadline?
So, okay, so when I'm writing, this is like a mania of mine. I have a total fear of getting hungry. Like, as soon as I think, like, I can eat a big breakfast and then sit down and I'm like, but what if I get hungry in 2 hours? Like, so I have to have food right there, whether I'm going to eat it or not. And I make these spiced nuts that are almonds and I toss them in olive oil and maple syrup and cinnamon and a little bit of garlic powder. And I roast them. And then I have a bowl of them right there. And so they fill me up like really well. And I'm not going to get hungry. That's what I
Sounds delicious.
do.
I'm
They are
hungry though
delicious.
now.
They are delicious.
Awesome.
We'll put the
And
recipe in your show notes.
yes, yes, I'm gonna definitely have to. I'm actually gonna write this on my napkin right here that get the recipe so I could put
Awesome.
it so Jane has a whole system for dating dresses, as we kind of said, and I know you said date with your career dress, but do you have any specific writing outfits that help you channel creativity?
I do my best writing in the morning and
Hmm.
before I have to walk my dog. So
Yeah.
it's like between 5 and 8. So I am a pajama wearer, full top and bottom. They button down the front. I wear
Yeah.
full pajamas like a total nerd. So I do almost all of my creative stuff in pajamas.
That's
No
awesome.
shoes. Yes.
What's
Yeah.
your favorite brand of pajamas?
Oh God, J. Crew makes pajamas that are the same feeling as a men's dress shirt. And to be honest with you, once a year they're on sale for like 80% off. I have them in like 8 colors. That is my go-to because they're kind of crisp and cool against your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them.
I'm always looking for those kinds of brands. I have like a couple of the Lake pajamas and I don't know what other kinds, but yeah, I'll look into J. Crew.
No, they're great.
So if Jane's life were a wine, what variety would she be?
That's a great question. I would say that she would be a Sauvignon Blanc, and here's why. She is, I was about to say rosé, but it's like a little too sweet for her. She is not a sweet person.
Hmm.
She has a little bite at the end. So yeah, I would say Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah. And I love a good Sauvignon Blanc, so
I
I'm right
just
there. All right, so more on to the story. Jane's mother is a romantic through and through. How did their mother-daughter dynamic shape your reading of Jane's choices in love?
kind of think that you may not have had this experience, but a lot of times the mother that you grow up with, if she is extreme in any way, the way you grow up, the way you react to that is by being totally different. Like if you had a mother who was like spending money like crazy to her own ruin, you would grow up maybe a little bit frugal, right? You're like
Hmm.
a little careful. And so Jane's mom is like believes in love. Like she like thinks that Prince Charming is coming on the horse at any moment. And so Jane saw her growing up, like getting her heart broken all the time and having to sort of pick up the pieces and put her mother back together. And she's having none of that. And Jane really believes, I think, that like her mother, that, it's the white horse coming down the road. That's what it is. And throughout the story, she kind of learns that love is something different than that. And it's something she ends up wanting to share with her mom. That dynamic was actually a little bit challenging for me to write because I wanted to get it right because it really mattered to me.
Hmm.
And I didn't want it to be too simple.
Right.
Like when they have the
Yeah.
big conversation towards the end, I didn't quite know how that conversation would go, but that was an interesting part of writing for me.
Yeah. And then on to, Dan and Jane, they both carry creative wounds. Jane from being kind of dismissed as low stakes, Dan from being labeled as pretentious. How do their artistic identities clash and complement each other through the story?
Well, they clash very much at the beginning because Jane just like she doesn't really have an artistic vision. She wants to be famous. Like she wants to walk into the Ivy and get a table. That's her goal. And Dan is like wants to make some quiet, beautiful thing that's going to win an award and isn't going to make any money. So she kind of comes around to his way of thinking as the story goes on. And I don't think Dan changes much in that. Like the thing I love about Dan, which to be honest with you is everything. He's like my favorite. Of all my male main characters, he's my favorite. I would run off with him. I just love how Dan knows who he is and he's surrounded by everybody who's totally different from him and he's
Hmm.
unbending. Like
Right.
not going to compromise on who he is. And of course, Jane doesn't know who she is.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. Where's my script?
Yeah. And she is haunted by childhood fame, and the memory of being a meme. Like, how did you approach writing a character who's kind of tired of being the punchline?
Well, so that started, it started out, my original idea for this book came when I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette
Mhm.
and this story is in no way like her story. Just to like
No, I
disclaim,
loved that one too.
yeah, I love that book. I read it twice in a row, like
Yeah.
in a row. I loved her writing. I loved everything about that story. But I remember thinking about her and how she was like always kind of like being so goofy on that show while she was really dealing with all of those hard things.
Right.
I was also thinking about Ariana Grande in Victorious. Did you ever see that show?
I may have, but
You're in a between age, I think.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm like. I think my sister did, but like I didn't really watch.
My kids used to watch it. And anyways, it's about this, performing arts high school and they're all trying to be stars. And there's this girl that kind of hangs out in the background and is
Hmm.
goofy and has like kind of dumb lines. She's Ariana Grande. And I'm like, how does it happen that Ariana Grande
Yeah.
is now a billionaire? Like, what is that like for the rest of those people? Anyways, just got me thinking about all the kind of background goofballs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I actually saw Ariana Grande's brother was in like we have a really cool small theater and he was the lead in Rocky Horror Picture Show and we got to meet and he is amazing. Like he is an unbelievable act. I'm like, what is in their DNA?
Do you know, are their parents performers?
I don't know. I should probably look into that because like I mean he was just his energy was amazing. I can't even begin to like describe it. And then, obviously she's great too. I don't know who their parents are, but
We need to do a deep dive. And are
yeah.
there other siblings?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Seriously, I don't
Those
know.
siblings are tone deaf. Like, how
Yeah,
does that work out?
I
I'd love
don't
to know.
know. Yeah, I would too. So you also, with Nora Goes Off Script and this one, you kind of write about women at the edge of reinvention so well. Why do you think so many of us find ourselves in our 30s and 40s reinventing ourselves?
Oh God, I hope we always are,
I
actually.
know.
I hope that that doesn't stop. It's such a good question. I think we spend our teen years doing what we're told. Like, okay, it's time to go to 12th grade. And then in your 20s, you're trying to, do something. What am I going to do? Who am I going to be? And
Hmm.
we often are just like on this track where we've gotten someplace because like life kind of pushed us there. And I think it's really interesting to take a pause and be like, just real quick, did I want to be a lawyer? Why am I doing this? Or just real quick, should I really marry that guy? I don't know. Is it just because I've been dating him so long? Like there's so many crossroads and so many times that we could shift gears completely. But God, I think we should stop and think about it every 5 years.
Yeah. I think there's so many people that don't. They just kind of go into it and they just kind of get stuck on the hamster wheel of it. And, I'm always trying to reinvent, the wheel, I guess. Like, all right, what can I do this way? And I know so many people I'm surrounded by are, but yeah, I hope that especially women are able to kind of
Well,
continue to do that.
inertia is a real thing. I mean, it really is like once you're somewhere, it's just easier to stay.
Yeah.
It's like, why are people in terrible marriages after
Yeah.
time? You know, it's just like, it's kind of hard to pick up your stuff.
Yeah. So if you could sit down with Jane with some wine and you guys were having a girls' night, what would you tell her about maybe men, movies, manifesting, any or all of them? What would you guys talk about?
Oh my gosh. I would love to sit down with her. She's like the daughter I never had. I think that I would tell her to just be like soft with herself and to like accept all the love that's coming at her.
Hmm.
You know, I think she's a person who kind of deflects. And she just like to take the time to get to know herself.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'd tell her about movies, although I love The Notebook. And I think she was coming around to The Notebook too.
She would have to after, watching it a bunch of times. We all do, right?
Yeah. But I loved it.
And Dan says people want love. They want to feel connected and like they're okay. Is that your mission when you write your books for people to feel that?
I don't really think that. I've never thought that before, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
When I write a book, I'm just writing a book. I'm not ever thinking about, I wonder how people are going to feel when they read this, writing a book. But what I really hope is that at an end of a book, that people, they feel like they know something about themselves that they didn't know. They saw a little bit of their own
Hmm.
feeling, and that they feel a little hopeful or better.
Yeah. So which scene in It's a Love Story did you rewrite the most and why?
There's one scene where they have sex, and I'll tell you this every year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Just
think we talked
like
about that
it
last year.
fly off my fingers. It's like I there in this book in particular. Oh my, this is so funny. I got an edit back from my editor, and she writes stuff in the margins like, "Did you read
Hmm.
this?" Whatever. And it's in the middle of the sex scene, and it's like the sex scene, and she goes, "Are they having sex here? It's hard for me to tell." And I'm like, "Wow, I
You're
am
like,
not doing a good job of this." So yes, I rewrote that a bunch of times. I don't know what my problem is. It's getting easier, but it just wasn't that easy.
yeah. Well, now you can look back to this book and say, okay, these are the descriptions I used. How can I continue on with them?
Like everybody's moving around in a complicated
Yeah.
way. Like, are they sitting? Are they lying down? I don't, what? Anyways, yes, I'm learning.
So if It's a Love Story were adapted for film, who would you cast as Jane and Dan?
Okay, so I will always say Jennifer Lawrence. This book, that one, all of my books. I always want Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know where she is or what she's doing. She might be pregnant. Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't know. I could have
I'm
made
not
that up.
sure.
I always want her. I don't really know who the actresses are that are this age. Dan, I can picture because he is very much tall, dark, and handsome,
Hmm.
and so are his brothers. I think it would be hard to cast that many handsome guys who all kind of look alike,
Yeah.
but it would be fun trying. I don't know who he is. Do you know?
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to think. Well, when you were saying the brothers, I was going to say there's like websites where it's like, are these actors brothers? And I'm sure there's got to be some dark.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know who I would.
and honestly, we could dye their hair. They
Yeah.
don't all
True.
have to be like Irish dark hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. Well, we have learned so much about It's a Love Story. So excited for everyone to read it. And this, as I said, is your third time on the podcast. So I'm going to make the final question a little more personal.
Okay.
You've created a kind of literary universe that feels both modern and deeply nostalgic, full of heart, humor, and second chances. When readers close this book, what's the feeling you hope stays with them and maybe even nudges them to take a fourth date with something in their own life?
What a beautiful question. Thank you. I I think that actually in all of my books, my heroines are reclaiming their voice.
Hmm.
So it's not even so much that they're reinventing themselves. It's just like they're finding a way to like speak, to say the thing that they've not been able to say before. And so I would love if readers came to the ends of my books and thought, you know what? Yes, this is actually who I am. And this is actually who I always wanted to be. And I'm going to go for it.
Love
Because we
that.
do lose our voices along the way at various times in our lives, particularly as women. And it's time to get them back.
Well, that's perfect. The perfect way to end it. So that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of The Running Wine Mom. Annabelle, thank you for coming back. You are always such a joy, and this book is pure magic. Everyone listening, if you want something that'll make you laugh, make you feel, and maybe make you text an old crush or not, go grab It's a Love Story. It comes out today. As always, thank you for spending this time with me on The Running Wine Mom. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review if you loved it, and share this episode with a mom who needs to hear it. You can follow me on Instagram at the Running Wine Mom _. And Annabelle, where can the listeners find you?
I am at Annabel Monaghan.
Perfect. And I will link all that plus the recipe for the almonds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Annabelle, for coming on again.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun to see you.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, and keep embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers, and I will be back next Tuesday.